Hello and welcome to the segment on the Dream Session. Dream sessions are a way for our congregations to have a powerful conversation together. They're based on some pretty widely known and widely understood strategic planning techniques and strategic planning conversations. But a dream session in the LifePlan is actually more than just a business-oriented conversation. It's a way for us to invite our congregation to take the concerns that we have about the church and not just share them in meetings and not just share them in the lobby, but to take them to Christ and to ask Him what He wants them to do, to engage in the spiritual discipline of fasting. And so when we arrive at the dream session, it should be an expectation that a majority of the congregation have had the time to think, have had the time to pray, have had the time to reflect, and are ready to enter into a genuinely spiritual conversation. Now, at the dream session itself, most of our congregations prefer to have it after church and provide a meal. What you should be looking for is to set aside an hour or two to have this conversation. The conversation follows a few basic steps. The first step is to review the writing team report once again, because what we're looking for is to make sure that the ideas that we generate in the next few hours are still tied to what we agree as a congregation are the implications that we must face going forward. And this also means that we're tying in to the prayer time that they've had between our last segment and this. Once you have that established and once you've walked through the implications, one of the things that we want you to do is to divide everyone at tables and to ask them to walk through each of the implications on the writing team report at their table and to have one person record them. Now, it's very important that the people at your table recognize that this is something like a brainstorming session. And so they shouldn't at any point talk about or evaluate the ideas of others. Because we want to make sure that all of the ideas are shared with the congregation. So then what we do after we have this time where we've walked through each of the implications, step by step, one by one, and have had a relatively far-reaching conversation at each of the tables, then what we do is we invite each of the tables to send a representative up to talk about what it discussed at their table. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take each of the ideas that they have worked out at their table and you're going to write them on a piece of poster board or poster paper. And then as they go through their list of ideas, to ask the table if they're satisfied with the report that their representative gave, or if there's other points that need to be made. If those need to be made, you write them down. And then you go to the next table and you ask them to come up. And then if they come up with ideas that are similar to maybe table 1, so table 2 comes up with ideas that are similar to table 1. For instance, table 1 says we need to reach out more, and Table 2 says we need more outreach. Well, those are quite similar kinds of concepts. So what you want to do in that case is, instead of just writing it down on the poster board or poster paper, to ask Table 1 and Table 2 if they mean the same thing when they're saying that. If they do mean the same thing when they're saying that, don't write down another item. Just leave the one that the previous table came up with. And then finally what we do, once we have all of the tables who have reported in, we give each congregant stickers, 5 stickers, numbered 1 through 5. And then what we ask them to do is to prayerfully walk around the room and think through, if the church knows what it faces, thinks through the implications, this is the number one thing that we need to get behind. And they can only vote one sticker per idea. They can't put, one congregant cannot put all of their stickers behind one idea. The other thing that some of our churches have done, and I think this is a great idea, is to have each congregant write down on their number 1 sticker their own name. And this is a form of accountability, because one of the challenges we sometimes have is that congregants will make suggestions but then not be willing to back up their suggestions with their own actions. So by having them write their name down on the number 1, what you're inviting them to do is to say, I believe so strongly that this idea is important for us, our congregation moving forward, that I volunteer to be a part of making this idea happen. And that gives the ministry team, and it gives your board and your leaders the chance to follow up with those individuals as the church begins to work out this plan. That's not necessarily something you have to do, but it's something that some of our congregations have found very effective in the going forward and the carrying out of the plan. So those are the basics of the dream session.